Evan Skip, what's up? How you doing?
Oh, what's up,
What's
bro?
up, Joel?
How's it
It's a
going?
pleasure to be here, my man.
Yes, indeed.
Oh man, it's a pleasure to have you guys on here. I listen to your podcast and your music and everything. And I know you're in Oregon, so how's the whole COVID situation been for you?
Yeah, so Bend, Oregon is where we reside currently. It's a beautiful place to live and enjoy it very much. Thanks for having us on the show, bro.
It's my pleasure. So have you guys started creative hobbies since the whole COVID situation happened?
That's a good question,
Yeah.
man. Honestly, my hobby is music. It's my hobby. It's my profession. You know, I do some construction stuff on the side, and everyone's remodeling their homes during COVID, and so there's no exception over here. I've remodeled 2 bathrooms since.
Yeah,
Okay.
So, but we've also been,
he's
making
Bob the
music,
Builder.
making music, man. It's what I love to do.
Truly,
It's what
truly.
I it's what I live for.
We've been very busy during this time and in the best way possible. It's been a complete rework of everything that we do in our lives and a complete kind of recalibration of the original energy that comes through the music, and being able to sit in solitude is one of the greatest ways to be able to do that. And so we've embraced it, and because of the embracing of the fact that it is what it is, we've realized some really deep truths and some really beautiful creation out of it.
And I think that's a reflection of what's happening on a world scale. Given the whole COVID thing and the pandemic, everyone's kind of having to reevaluate their priorities and what's important to them, because as things like jobs and social structures and schooling and all kind of get stripped away, we're left with what's really important,
And
which
who
is,
are we?
yeah, it's
Oh yeah.
like our relationship with ourselves, our relationship with our families, the way that we, manage our emotions and our, stresses and our anxieties. And
Hmm.
I think that, maybe not, that's not completely as true for each and every person during this, but there is some sense of that, because when we have more time on our hands, anyone with more time on their hands, they're put in a position of having to be with themselves more.
Oh
And
yeah.
Exactly.
being yourself, just being with yourself more
Is the medicine.
it's a medicine.
Yeah, I mean, and the way we speak to ourselves is something that has come into my awareness. The way that we talk to ourselves constantly all day long, and what we say to ourselves. When you have the time to actually check in with that, you realize that there usually is some stuff you can rework and start learning a little bit about how to treat yourself like a beautiful creature and
Oh
love
yeah.
yourself. And that extrapolates to the outside world when you do that. So if we have self-love, we can somehow have depth of love for others.
Extrapolate. That's a good word, Skip.
Thank you.
Well, it's funny you guys mentioned that, and you mentioned about like being handy, and something I didn't realize about myself, and that I've been trying to learn more and more is that just trying to be more like DIY and just learning to do things myself. I mean, besides working on this podcast and YouTube, I'm always trying to teach myself and like trying to develop it over time in each episode. But also, I'm just helping things around for my mom around here, just
Yeah.
trying to get some. I mean, she's been living in the same home for like 20-25 years, and
Mm.
just like it's the same structure, like the same faucets, the same windows, so everything's breaking down. So I'm just like more and more teaching myself how to fix and change everything, and I'm more handy than I realized.
Yeah, when you just
Hmm.
apply yourself,
Yeah.
it's fun,
Oh yeah.
man. You can handle it, and the feeling you get of fixing your own thing and not having to call someone and pay a bunch of money, dude. It's
Oh
like a
yeah.
very, very
Oh yeah.
rewarding, basic human feeling.
But I mean, you just nailed it too. It's like having the ability and time to deepen those skills in something that you enjoy doing. I bet it teaches you a lot about yourself in general. I mean, you start to learn, what you're capable of, and then the confidence builds, and that's a great thing. So I think a lot of people during this time curse the events of what's happening on planet Earth,
Hmm.
without looking at the inherent blessings that are coming with this supposed challenge. And so if we can look at it more as a challenge and not as a catastrophe, then somehow you realize what you're made of, and you can
Oh yeah.
you can dig deep, and then once you get that challenge handled, man, you're stronger. So that's the way it works.
And you guys have been starting doing some new music this year, and you recently came out with the song Never Bow with Zion I. And I think, Ev, I heard you mention before, there's a strong message behind this song. So what's the message behind this song?
The message of the song is that, well, the chorus goes, you think a virus going to stop us now. The crown chakra could have never bow. Almighty Jah will never let us down. We got the strength to move a mountain. So it's like, it's honoring it's bringing up and paying attention and loving the aspect of ourselves that can never be taken away or brought down or stolen from, which is the eternal aspect of ourselves. The place where our soul truly resides. And, we are in a physical realm. We are cast into a physical experience where we experience circumstances that sometimes feel daunting and negative and
Random.
repressive, but that's just perspective. That is really just perspective. And everything, and like Skip was just saying, everything that transpires, we have the opportunity we have the ability to look at it as an opportunity or a catastrophe. It's either a curse or a blessing. What's the difference between a curse and a blessing?
Perspective.
Just your perspective. Same way, like, we've dealt with health issues, our whole lives. And the standard outlook on that is like, oh, that's terrible. How terrible. I don't view it that way at all. I know that it came here to teach me something that is an opportunity for me to rise into my power of understanding and connection to something greater than the physical realm, which has helped me transcend these challenges within the physical realm. And so these are the things that have given me the most, the things that have given me the most that allow me now to give to others.
Exactly.
And so that's, the song is rooted in that energy. That through hardships we will be like the phoenix and rise from the flames.
Everything that you hold dear about yourself, the real you at the highest level, can never be stolen or taken away. The only way that it can ever be diminished is if you somehow put obstacles in your way.
I listened to your podcast, and one thing you guys really talk about, which I've really been self-reflecting on, is just thinking positive. Like, if you think positive, just positive things will happen, or you will look at things more positive. But if you have a negative mindset, I mean, a lot of people struggle with, which I myself have struggled with in the past, is just thinking less negative. Because when you think negative, the world's going to be negative to you. But if you think positive, everything will be more joyous to you.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. And, some people hear that and they go, well, that's kind of like hippy dippy, whatever, woo woo.
It's physics.
But it's
true.
not. It's literally the way our brains work. Like, everyone has
the way the universe works.
Everyone has the experience where they're looking for a car. They go, oh, I decided I want to have a red Volkswagen Beetle. Now, everywhere they go, they see a red Volkswagen Beetle. You open your perspective by your focus. You train your perspective
straight up
by your focus.
Yeah.
So when we train our minds to find the blessings in things, we find the positive edge of things, we end up just seeing more positive of things.
And you evolve that edge by seeing it. You actually move it forward in consciousness by seeing it and focusing upon it. And so we're actually creating things out of the universe by doing that.
Oh yeah.
And it's just physics. It's not even hippie. It's the way it works.
Yeah. I think a lot of people act under that, act within that, the mechanics of that energy unknowingly.
Yeah.
We all know people that they're just successful. No matter what they do, they're successful. And you're like, why is this guy so successful? They're not spiritual. They don't have any, real understanding of, it's just what they know, and it's what they expect.
They always see it that way. So it
just unfolds that way.
Oh, yeah.
And so we have the ability to change ourselves from being, everything always falls apart for me. I'm just unlucky. Well, yeah, you're going to continue to be
Oh, yeah.
unlucky if you continue to tell that story. So
Oh,
we
yeah.
change that story and we find, positive things to focus on, and
Yep.
we see more and more of it.
Yeah, and people will look to things in their reality to validate their negative emotions. So if they look around, they're thinking negatively, and they go, "Look, see." But
Oh, yeah.
really, when you point outside of yourself to what actually is in existence outside of yourself, you're missing your power, because your power is what brings that into focus. And so you may have been thinking a thought your whole entire life, and of course it's real to you because it's everywhere around you. But outside isn't the issue. It's always inside. So it's how we transform from the inside out. And that's the power that we have as human beings. And it's a good thing to know.
Yeah.
It can set you free, but it also costs responsibility, because then it's your responsibility in every aspect of your life, everything that you're seeing and feeling. And that can be a heavy burden to some. They'd rather blame it on the outside world. But the trouble with that theory is that they'll never get there that way. They'll just experience whatever they experience based on uncontrolled thought and emotion.
One thing that I would say a mystery to me is the cover of the album, which I noticed it changes along the way, but I guess it's called Larry the Leaf Man. So how'd you guys develop this logo?
It just started, it was much like our band name Indubious. It just started as something as, oh, that's cool. Yeah, let's do that. And then so here we are now, almost 15 years later. The name Indubious has, really carried this whole ethos, and our fans call themselves Indubians, and our motto is live indubiously, and it's this whole spiritual ethos and way of living. And the the Leaf Man has taken on its own meaning as well. There's no inherent meaning to anything. It's the meaning that we assign,
Mm-hmm.
and what we have evolved in terms of the meaning of what the Leaf Man represents to us is he's like the guardian for us. He's the spirit.
He's the spirit.
He's the spirit through which, I call him the guardian of the 24 dimensions of sound, because there's 12 keys, both major and minor,
Mm-hmm.
and there's 24 leaves on the Leaf Man. So that was just something at some point.
So the symmetry
to the next.
That's cool.
The next, each leaf is a portal into
Oh, wow.
the new dimension of sound.
And so Indubious is funny because, all art comes from the great beyond. It comes from the chaos, the void, the unknown. And for us, we are human beings, but also we bring through a deep, higher dimensional energy that is represented in Indubious as an entity, so to speak. And so that definitely, Leaf Man is like the representation of the spirit of the music.
I heard that you guys are working on this new album. So if there's anything you can share about this upcoming album that you guys are working on?
We've worked with a tremendous amount of our favorite artists for this album. So it's going to be an album that's going to have...
it's almost like an Indubious and Friends album.
We've got a ton of amazing, exciting guests. The production is next level. People are just going to have to wait and see. We have a music video with a certain artist coming up soon. So there'll be a new music video on
a single
on sometime soon here, and we're anticipating release of the album sometime in early spring next year.
Yep.
Yeah, and I can't wait for that album, especially with the featured artists that you were talking about. And you guys worked with some great names in the past. One person that I would love for you to share about is your collaboration with Vaughn Benjamin, who passed away. And that's someone that I would love to just have on the program just to talk with. But you guys got a chance to just collaborate with him.
How many hours do you have? Because Vaughn talks for a long time.
Yeah,
oh man,
4 hours.
And it's 4 hours seems like 10 minutes when you're chatting with that guy, because he's such a deep ancient soul.
oh man,
Evolved my consciousness in ways that I can't really describe with words. And I've never been in the presence of somebody with that energy field before. He was a very special life. And somebody that I know for a fact could never be duplicated.
Oh yeah.
And his what got him there was his everlasting devotion to the Most High,
Yeah.
and whatever you see that as, and whoever you see that to be within yourself. And so he started to get intuitions at a very young age, and visions at a very young age to do what he did, and he followed his path all the way to the end, loving Jah.
Right.
And everything he spoke, everything he did, everything he emanated was of that frequency and in accordance with his highest self.
Yeah, and it's not that he started that way and just was that way. That was his goal.
Yeah.
So it's like,
You have to aim.
It's not an inaccessible reality for any of us.
Exactly.
It's like, we are human. We do have faults, we do have weaknesses, and we do have things to overcome. That's why we're here. But it's understanding our trajectory is based on where we focus. And that's what Vaughn gave us the ability to do. He gave us an example of someone who is doing that actively.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, I was like, how does this guy even exist? I don't understand how you can be the way that he is. I don't get it. It's like he's an alien or something, But as the years went by and we had sat with him multiple times, done collaborations with him, and really just the focus of intent through our music to have that type of resonance in the collective heart of reggae music, it began to be shown to us that these things are possible to all men that want to strive to know themselves, to know God. To know yourself is to know God. And one of my favorite lines of his is lose everything to know God, lose everything to know Jah. So it's really the shedding of yourself, of what you think that you are, which allows you to become more enmeshed with the frequency of all that is, which is what God energy is. Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
He has so much music out. I mean, the thing is, he's still coming out with new music.
Bro, it was like when I was a kid, I was a kid. I mean, 15 years ago, I suppose I was a kid. He already had 40 albums out. I think he had 72 by the time of his passing. He's probably at like 78 at this point.
Yeah.
And so we were as fans, I didn't know how we could reach that level of prolificness.
Yeah.
But as you start to move in the ways in which you know yourself, you start to realize that not only is possible, but that record could even be beaten. And you start to see the potential for your own human evolution through that. It was like a bar that was set so high in the direction of which I was aiming that it helped pull me up. And so I'm forever grateful to Vaughn just for pulling me up. That's a thing. I've also realized that, as an artist that comes before, as an elder pulls you up, you must pull others up. And so when you see somebody that has that fire within, you help them as well. And that's how it all gets paid back.
I go through his music through Akebeka and Midnight, and I'm still trying to catch up on the music. I like listening to his music through muffled earphones too, because it's just like he's talking to you. He's just like sending you messages about the world right to your head directly from the music.
That's how it starts.
Yeah.
It's because he made the music within a frequency. He made the music within the frequency of knowing that the material is the dream and that things are not stagnant. Things are not fixed. That the magic of the vibration of our hearts and of His Majesty resonate within others, and it becomes real magic. And so for me, listening to his music was the first time that I would have true, meaningful synchronicity expressed through musical recordings. It blew my mind in the beginning, where it was like, you know, I'd be driving down the road and he's like literally like talking about what I'm doing. I'm like,
Oh
what
yeah.
the hell is going on? But it becomes so regular to me that I became invested in the frequency, and now people contact me and tell me the same thing happens with them to our music, you
Oh
know.
yeah.
So it's not us, it's the frequency, it's the vibration that we choose to associate with, which is beyond us.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
And that's where the devotion comes in. That's why Vaughn was devoted to his God and King, because that is the only way out of your own human mess. And I don't mean that in a dogmatic religious sense. I mean that we need to release ourselves to the unknown with undying faith in order to know what we really are, because we only see as human beings in a limited capacity what's right in front of us. But those subtleties can be opened up slowly. The Imon being, and those subtleties can be opened up, and it's a very subtle process where little things will start jumping up as you calm yourself and start forgetting the story of the world, so to speak.
You guys are always giving out positive vibes through your music. And you also have a podcast called Living Indubiously that you also provide a lot of positive messages. So what got you guys interested in starting a podcast in the first place?
Well, you know, a lot of these things unfold in our life at this point without much deliberation. It's less of an idea and it's more of we just listen. We listen to the energy that wants to come through. You know, I believe that we come here to this physical plane with specific themes that our souls want to experience and express. And we do have these milestones and points in our life that are maybe not so much predetermined, but more predetermined in a general sense. We still have free will whether or not we want to do it. But when we are listening, when we are in tune with the frequency, these things become effortless and natural.
Yeah.
And for us, it was just a natural evolution of what we're doing, because you can only really truly express so much through music. Music expresses a lot. It's very deep. It's more of an energetic transfer of frequency, but the ability to talk at length on specific subjects with me and my brother and with specific guests gives a whole new dimension to the understanding of depth that the people who are followers of our music are now becoming more understanding of what it is we truly represent, which helps them understand the music better. So it's just been a natural evolution of the vibration of what feels right. You know, and for anyone out there going, oh, I wish I just knew what to do with everything in my life, you do. The way that you know is if it sounds exciting and it feels good. And when you get more and more sensitive to what you prefer, what sounds exciting, what feels right, you become better and better at doing it. And the way you get more sensitive to it is by listening to it.
Yeah.
Instead of going, oh, I really want to work on my art, but I got to go work at Arby's because, you know, I got to commit myself to response, you know.
Oh, yeah.
There's an aspect of that we do have to figure out within the physical world, but there's a listening to our inner sense and trusting of our inner sense that brings about more. It becomes a snowball effect, and when we trust that feeling within us, we do become rewarded.
Humans aren't made just to survive, we're made to thrive.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you don't forsake your artwork for your job at Arby's just so you can pay your bills, but you do have to pay your bills. But what you need to focus on is your soul's growth and purpose and the reason for living and the excitement to get up and take care of your life. And that, like I said, is a subtle process. It's not so black and white. You just have to move in the direction of your joy.
We're going to get a lawsuit from Arby's, I think, man.
Yeah, it's like, it's terrible.
No disrespect to Arby's, man. Whatever.
I have no idea if your workplace is reasonable or not. I have no idea.
Someone might work at Arby's and just be having a great time.
That might be their highest excitement. We're not saying anything about that.
Respect.
We're just using it as an example. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I think on the very first podcast episode, you guys talk about your experience with both of you have is cystic fibrosis. So what made you want to become so open and talking about that?
Why not?
Well,
What is there to hide?
what's the choice? So the way I look at it is, if you don't talk about it, what are you saying to yourself?
That it's not okay, that it's
Because
bad?
I had years when I was a kid when I was angry about it, and I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want anybody to know I
He didn't
had
want
it.
his friends to know about it
I
or
didn't.
whatever.
I did that game. But what I learned through a process of trial and error is that your choice is, you can stuff it down inside of you, or you can live in faith of your authentic self being right. Who you really are as a human being is good, and the way that you are, the blueprint that you have, is a beautiful thing. And the more you embrace that and tell that story, the more others benefit from that. And so whatever gifts you have, that's not your job to stuff them down. It's your job to give them. And so you have to look at it that way, because every little intricacy of your lives makes you who you are. And so you can't neglect a piece of that. So I didn't see a choice, because one choice is disaster and the other one is, liberation of your own self and your who you really are as a human being, your authentic self.
Yeah. I feel like these things are given to us as gifts. And so it's like we're not really able to experience the blessing of the gift unless we share it with others, and I feel like that's part of my purpose, is to, it's a warrior's path, being dragged through the portal of suffering and extreme pain and extreme emotional anguish in order to realize it was all an illusion in the first place. And for me to share that through my vibration with others, and if there's anyone out there in the cystic fibrosis community that has the ability to look at people that are not just living and thriving, but completely transcending and transforming and transmuting and making a positive impact, like,
Yeah.
it's just what I love, man. Like,
Yeah.
it goes back to the other thing. It's just following what feels good, what feels exciting. It's exciting to me that I have the ability to inspire anyone with that perspective.
I got to thank you guys for, just being open and sharing something like that. I'm sure a lot of, people, not just your listeners or listeners of this podcast, but just have something that they feel like, whether it's like a physical or mental disease that they have or something that their family has, it holds them back from just being
Yeah.
positive. And you guys are, you're open with, about your experience with cystic fibrosis, but you guys don't let that hold you back from being positive, and not only being positive, but just sharing your positivity to other people.
Yeah. Thank you, bro.
The hardest things in our lives that are given to us to overcome are the biggest gifts. And only until we can realize that truth will we get to see what the gift is. And to have the foresight that when something very difficult and trying happens in our life, and to have the foresight to go, oh, this is the next huge thing that I'm going to be blessed by. To have that foresight is the magic that allows it to blossom into that even faster, because it's the initial aversion to it, the resistance that breeds the persistence. We tend to resist things that we deem as bad or negative. I don't want this. This is bad. I hate it. I don't like it. Resistance breeds persistence. It's a natural rule. It's just a rule of the universe. So it's like, thank you for coming here to show me what you have come to show me. Thank you for being here. And, I honor what it is your message is, brain cancer, that is putting me through this, incredible journey and making me a warrior. That transforms the energy always. And you can transfer that idea onto anything, into, let's say, your spiteful ex-wife that's trying to take your kids from you. Thank you for being here in my life to teach me these lessons, to give me more compassion, to give me more love and understanding, for allowing me to have so much more patience I have to sit in court with you all day and pretend like I don't hate you. It's literally forcing me to build a skill.
Oh yeah.
And it's like when we can develop that about everything in our life, it's like we said earlier in the podcast, it's positive focus. Something bad happens, bad in quotation marks, happens to you, and you instantly have the ability to view why it is there to help you, why it is good.
And how you can use that to your advantage to become a more well-rounded and functional human being. You can use any challenge in your life that way. If you look at it like a puzzle, it's like, I was talking about this with a friend the other day. It's like, if you ask yourself, what's the point of playing cards? There's not really a point, playing catch out in the yard. What's the point of that?
Mm-hmm.
Their goal? Not really. It's to have fun. It's just for the joy of doing it.
And that's life.
You want to go play catch? Why? Nobody asks why. It's not why. There's no why. It's for fun. And so how you view a situation, if it looks like a mountain to climb, why climb it? People don't climb mountains because they have to. Well, I mean, they used to, but they don't climb mountains now because they have to. They do that because they want to.
Right.
And so people will put themselves to the test to climb up the mountain versus, oh shit, I got to climb a mountain today. Pardon my language. That's the choice. That's the choice we have. And so if you can use everything as divine play, even your pain, even your suffering, even your misery, this is a moment in which you can become greater. And that's everything, everybody, that's what you want. Whether you win or lose is irrelevant in a game of cards. I mean, depending on your mindset, but
win or lose, sink or swim.
Yeah. You guys been providing such positive words and positive messages throughout this podcast. I'm actually going to ask you for some additional words of wisdom, which we're at a segment in this podcast called Words of Wisdom. So this question is, share with us a quote that you all live by and tell us why.
Okay. This is our band official band motto, which is live indubiously.
Words of wisdom.
It's funny. That saying doesn't come into my mind a whole lot because it's like literally enmeshed in everything I do. I don't need to think about
saying,
that
yeah.
statement. It is the energy of what I do in general, through all of my works. And the idea of living indubiously. So the word dubious means doubtful, right? Mm-hmm. I'm very dubious about that. I'm doubtful about that. Indubious means undoubtful, sure of oneself. So if you're living indubiously, you do not have fear. You do not have doubt. You understand that everything is in flow. That we are here and everything is guided. It's all part of the perfection of creation. There's no mistakes in creation. There's no mistakes in God's creation of all of existence. There was only perfection. And so when we can see things through this lens, it gives people it's the ultimate hope. It's the ultimate faith. It's beyond faith and hope and belief. It is knowing. It's knowing that it is all in flow. And so it is our knowing that what is known by us will be shown to us. And so when we dwell within the energy of living indubiously, life just becomes effortless.
You slow down and you get quiet and you observe and you witness yourself, because living indubiously is truly like it's all the things that you are terrified of are the places where your treasure lies. Mm-hmm. That's the deepest cave of the soul that you can go down into if you're brave enough and pull out the biggest nugget of gold that you've ever seen in your life. But
large nugget.
That's how life is. If you look at the way it manifests outside, like the analogy I just gave, the metaphor I just gave, it's like you have to go down into a cave to get the big gold nugget. You have to do what scares you.
Yeah.
You have to do what scares you. And then the fear stops becoming so much of a fear and more of you meet it with such loving awareness that it can't help but diminish, and you become used to it, and it becomes something that tempers your soul and spirit. And that's the essence of living indubiously. It's about seeing the good and the bad,
and knowing it is the way.
And I'll share one other quote my grandma used to say. It is what it is, and therefore it is the way. And so it's like whatever it is to you, whatever it looks like on the outside, whatever the circumstances are reflecting to you, that's your path. What are you going to do? You're going to go get back in bed, or you're going to get up and face it? Because that's the choice. That's the choice we have every day.
Thank you guys for sharing that. Since we're wrapping up, is there anything you want to share with our listeners?
Love yourself.
Love yourself. Please love yourself. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. If you have resonance with these words, with this talk,
check out Living Indubiously podcast.
Come check out our podcast, Living Indubiously podcast. Go to indubiousmusic.com and check out some of our musical works. And just love yourself. It's important. Everything comes from loving yourself. It's the foundation which we allow any goodness into our life is self-love. Yeah. Without self-love, we do not allow ourselves to be loved. We do not feel love. There are so many blessings and gifts and treasures and incredible feelings just waiting for us to give ourselves permission to experience. And you give yourself permission to positive experience in your life through self-love.
Truth.
Taking care of yourself, talking to yourself like you're your own baby child. Yeah. You wouldn't say, "Damn it, you little idiot." You would say, "I love you. It's okay. You're doing great. You're doing really good. You're a good person. And I believe in you, man. I love you." That's how we can learn to talk to ourselves. And it's a truly transformational tool.
It's the healing.
Definitely. I agree with you guys 100%.
Thanks, Joel.
Ev Skip, I appreciate this whole conversation that we've had. I'm sure our listeners will definitely appreciate just these wise words and just these positive vibes that you guys are spreading with our listeners, and appreciate this from the bottom of my heart. But Ev Skip, thank you so much for joining us in Irie Chat, and best of luck on everything.
Thank you. Blessed love.
Peace and love,
Thanks
brother.
for having us.